Hey, First Things First listeners, before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Now let's start the show. The Miami Dolphins say they are all in on Tua. Hot off the press, the playoff edition of Nick's NFL Tiers. And after last night, is there anyone out there who could possibly doubt the Brooklyn Nets? Good morning, everyone. Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Brendan Marshall, and Kevin Wildes. Nick, buddy, the Brooklyn Nets, you got to be in. Are you in?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big fan of Kevin Durant, but maybe he's just not as important as I thought he was, Brandon. Who knows? I mean, look at that. Look at that performance.
Stop it.
I don't know. It's just what I saw. Let Kyrie cook.
Coming in hot, Nick. Coming in hot. All right, we're going to get to all of that in the NBA. We got to start with the big news in the NFL out of Cleveland. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski has tested positive for COVID-19. The positive test means Stefanski will in fact miss Sunday's wild card game in Pittsburgh. It also means he'll be handing over the play calling duties to offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt. Stefanski was one of 5 positive tests within the organization. Browns also be without Pro Bowl guard Joel Bitonio. So Browns have their work cut out for them. Brandon, I'll start with you. As a player, tell me, how much harder will it be for Baker and the Browns to pull off the upset without having their head coach there?
Woo. Jenna, I struggled with this one. Soon as the news broke that Coach Kevin Stefanski wouldn't be with the team because of COVID-19, I didn't know how important it would be, how big of a deal. So I started writing a few things down. I wrote down, all right, what does a coach bring to the table? What are the intangibles? Leadership, game management, play calling, and then also experience. So when you think about leadership, I think that the Cleveland Browns won't miss his leadership. Teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Seattle Seahawks, if they lose a Coach Tomlin, if they lose a Pete Carroll, I think that's a big deal. Game management, I don't know. This is a huge deal, but I don't know if this is where he thrives. I don't know if this is his place of genius, talking about Coach Kevin Stefanski. A lot of these coaches these days have experts sitting in a booth in their ear talking about situational football, talking about game management. I think they can get that covered by their special teams coach, and if they have a guru sitting in the booth. Play calling. This is a big deal for the Cleveland Browns. There's a lot of head coaches out there that are also play callers. You look at Coach McVay out in Los Angeles. And Kevin Stefanski, this is his place of genius. This is where they could potentially be really hurting come game day. Because when you look at him, it's not about just creating plays. It's about, can you dial it up? Okay, it's 3rd and 2 and 3. We've shown them 70% of the time we are going to hand the ball off. Is this the time to pull the ball, get Baker out, and throw the ball down the field? That's what they'll miss. It's that rhythm. It's, can you dial it up? And the last thing, Nick, is experience on the sideline, right? Obviously, it's his first time as a head coach in the postseason, but he sat on many sidelines going back to Minnesota, seeing Coach Zimmer manage the team leading up to the game, after the game, during the game, all those things. So I'm not sure how big of an impact this will be.
So I think it's a pretty massive impact, and I think it's a massive impact for this year and for next year, because you mentioned experience, and this now robs Kevin Stefanski of gaining playoff experience this year. One of the reasons I think people understandably might be bullish on the Buffalo Bills is because Sean McDermott, their young but very good head coach, has playoff experience. Even if the Browns were going to go one and done, lose their first playoff game, that could be, as I've talked about all year, the building blocks they have to go through. It could be a positive experience for Stefanski to learn what he did right and what he did wrong. That's now taken from him unless they upset the Steelers and then he can come back for the divisional round. So in that regard, I do think it's a big deal. I also think it's a big deal on the play calling front that you laid out there, Brandon. That's what he's there for. He is there to design offenses, to script those first 15 plays, and to put Baker Mayfield in the best position to succeed. And with all that said, Wilds, I don't even know, as much of a loss as Stefanski is, that he's the biggest loss. Because Joe Bitonio being out is a huge deal. For the way the Browns try to run their offense, run the football, play action pass, get Baker on the move, having arguably your best offensive lineman not there is a massive loss for them. So especially against this Steelers front. So for all these reasons, a game that I think I was leaning towards picking that the Browns to upset the Steelers, I now have to reevaluate entirely. And by the way, the line moved from 3.5 to 6. So I think a lot of people are reevaluating the chances Cleveland has of winning this game.
Yeah, you make a good point about the offensive line. Remember when the Browns played the Jets, the big headline was they're missing their 4 wide receivers because they were all, the bath, the hot bath, cold bath, whatever it was. But they also lost their offensive linemen. And then they couldn't run the ball. So even though they didn't have their wide receivers, Brandon, they still kept throwing the ball around. That's how important the offensive line was. They still kept running the ball. I think it's a big deal, Brandon. And the only real parallel we've seen of coaches missing games was the Lions when Brady torched the Lions and actually sat for part of the game because he was so perfect in the first half. The Steelers got healthier. The Browns got less healthy, Brandon. I know that you recently jumped on the Cleveland bandwagon, but the Steelers were your Super Bowl pick. Does this move your heart in any one direction? I know you're a hometown hero Steelers, but now the Browns are even more underdogs. Does it make you want to root for the Browns a little bit more against the Steelers?
You know what? The first person I thought about was Baker Mayfield. I thought this could be really, really good for him or really, really bad for him because he has this mentality, right, where he can go into a game and say, you know what, it's me against the world. Now I got to put the team on my shoulders and get it done because I don't have my guy. And he can go out there and throw 3 picks. Or if he goes into that locker room, galvanize the guys and say, it's not just me, it's going to be all of us picking up where coach left off, and we're going to go get it done together, lead his team to victory, and possibly have amazing story talking about how Baker Mayfield led his team to victory past the Pittsburgh Steelers in his first playoff game. So that's the first person I thought about and how I'm rooting for him. But it could be really bad, Nick.
Well, listen, I do think, even if it makes Baker's job far, far more difficult, I do think that it gives him an amazing opportunity, even more so than he had as of 96 hours ago, to write an unbelievable script. We talk all the time about the futility of the Cleveland Browns. A little context here. The last time the Cleveland Browns won a road playoff game was the first year of the Richard Nixon administration. It's been more than 50 years since Cleveland won a road playoff game. So if they do that by going to Pittsburgh, by beating Big Ben and Mike Tomlin, and doing it without their head coach, it absolutely is an unbelievable coup for the entire team, but in particular, Jenna, for Baker, the face of that team.
Of course. Before we break, we do want to pass along some sad news. We do want to say that we want to say goodbye to a member of the Fox Sports family, Ryan Brown. Ryan worked behind the cameras here at Fox Sports, often on overnight shifts here on First Things First, supervising post-production as an engineer in charge. Ryan was born in Hawaii. He was the oldest of 3 boys. Like many of us, he grew up loving sports, playing sports. He was an avid music fan. He played guitar. He was in a number of bands over the years. Ryan's family says he always brought light to every room he entered and left a lasting impression on all he met. We take a turn now and head to Miami with 2 burning questions. 1, will my parents ever actually move down there and stop talking about it? And 2, is Tua the starting quarterback next season? Dolphins GM Chris Greer doesn't know my parents, so he weighed in on the second question, the quarterback situation, said it will in fact be Tua moving forward. Tua went 6-3 as the starter in an up-and-down rookie season. But what about Fitzmagic, Brandon? Your guy. Well, let me ask you, you convinced Tua's the starting quarterback down there in Miami?
Well, I'll say this, if they had Fitzmagic, they probably would have won that game, and they probably would have been in the playoffs. But look, here's the deal with Tua. Look, when he passed, when his first 15 passes go further than 4 yards, then I'll be convinced. If you go back and watch that game and look at his first 20 passes, like, what's going on here? Now, look, he has all the intangibles. You talk about leadership. You talk about relatability. You talk about can he throw it, football IQ. He has all of those things. But something interesting is going on in Miami. It's like this Tua Fitzpatrick thing, sitting him, not letting him finish in games and getting those reps. What is going on in Miami where you're like, we got to pull him back? Also, the inconsistencies. You talk about Josh Allen all the time, Nick, and how he's up and down, up and down. But if you look at Tua, some games he'll go for 360 yards. Some games he'll go for 83 yards or 90 or 200. It's like, who are we dealing with?
That's right.
So I'm tough on quarterbacks, Nick, because you're the guy that told me that I actually played with, 17, 18 different quarterbacks. So I just need a little bit more time. I like the direction they're headed. By the end of the day, I'm not convinced.
Okay, so this is tough for me because I like Tua personally. I think he's an exceptional young man. I really like his family, who I got to know a very little bit at the Super Bowl last year. And I went out there and said, Tua, not Justin Herbert, not even Joe Burrow, that it's Tua should have been the number 1 pick of the draft. But he was not impressive this year. And there are 2 ways to look at it. One way is he wasn't even supposed to play this year. This is supposed to be a redshirt year.
Yep.
Anything from Tua that was a healthy season was a positive. The other way to look at it is watch all the games the Miami Dolphins played and count how many impressive throws you can find. This one right here against the Chiefs is impressive, kind of. It's a good throw, but it is into triple coverage, almost got picked. Everything else is 3 yards. Everything else is dink and dunk. So there are real concerns. Now, into his defense, and Brandon, I'm going to tread lightly here because I know this is one of your guys. How much of this is Tua and how much of it is Chan Gailey, who they brought in because of the relationship with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that maybe Chan Gailey had too much of the training wheels on Tua? I don't know. But because, Brandon, there is enough of an unknown, what I wouldn't do if I was Miami is give up on him and spend the 3rd overall pick on the 3rd best quarterback of the draft, whomever you think that is. That, to me, would be a rash decision. So I would not move on from Tua after a mediocre half a season of starting, but I cannot sit here and say I am thoroughly convinced the way I am about Justin Herbert that he is a no doubt can't miss franchise quarterback. He did not give us the evidence of that throughout the season.
Yeah, so just to respond quickly while it's here, just to respond to his point about Chan Gailey, I think it's more Brian Flores a thing than Coach Chan Gailey. Chan Gailey, I was with Coach Gailey in New York when I was playing for the Jets. And he's not that type of guy. He just wants you to do your job and go win. I remember when we were installing our offense, Gailey, I would go to him, I'm like, Coach, do you like that route? Did I get my depth? Do you want it like this? Do you want to do it like that? He said, Brandon, let me ask you a question. Did you beat the man? I said, yeah, I beat the man. He said, that's all that matters, Brandon. So I don't think it's Chan Gailey. I think it's all Coach Flores making sure that this kid is in the right situation to develop, whether it's right or wrong. He's doing what he thinks is best.
Look, so I think the whole thing is a mess. And we knew this was a mess when Tua got the starting job. And Doug Peterson's been taking so much heat for pulling Jalen Hurts out of the game, Nick. But who gave the Dolphins the best chance to make it to the playoffs? Was it Tua or was it Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was on a winning streak? You knew that they made the wrong decision because they weren't even allowing Tua to finish the games. And to say that they're not high on Tua, it's a little bit like your analogy, like you had $1 million in the bank and then you had 50,000. But if you have zero, you're looking up at 50. Wow, that's great. But if you had $1 million, went down to 50, it's a disaster. They were talking about giving him Marino's number. Remember that before the draft? Like, hey, should Tua wear Marino's number? Should we unretire? What should we do? He's our new franchise quarterback. Now they're not letting him. Now they're not letting him finish games. And where there's smoke, there's fire. He's not the best quarterback on the team. Is he the best quarterback in this draft outside of Trevor Lawrence? I guess. But are the Dolphins looking to have a redo? I'm 100% sure. It's like any conversation that's happening around Tua is not happening around Justin Herbert. None whatsoever.
No, it's
so
not.
If you don't have a Justin Herbert relationship with your QB, then he's not the guy.
But listen, I think after the first year, and it's going to be awkward coming from me on this, I think after the first year, most people would have thought the Bills wanted a do-over on Josh Allen. Another top 10 pick that there were question marks about. And now, right now, to the vast majority of the football world, that looks like a great pick. My advice for the Dolphins would be punt on this decision. And by that, I mean they have 4 picks in the top 50. They have 3, 18, 36, and 50, if my math is right on this upcoming draft. Trade that 3rd pick for later in the draft and a future first rounder. That way, if after year 2, Tua hasn't improved, you have the capital you need to next year draft your quarterback. Don't make a hasty decision right now. Continue to parlay with that 3rd overall pick, which could get you a massive haul as far as draft picks, into future picks as insurance, if you would, in case Tua doesn't improve. That would be my advice for them, rather than to draft whatever quarterback's 3rd on their board after Lawrence and Fields go 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Nick. I mean, and why I say I'm not convinced is not because I don't think he can't ball. It's because sometimes guys need to develop. Not everyone's going to have a Justin Herbert type of rookie year. Like, it's hard. When I need my Tua time information, I'll go to the Sun Sentinel and I listen to Omar Kelly. Omar Kelly has this kid down, and he talks about 2 things. He's like, he's a step slow in his decision making, and his timing is a little off. Like, he's holding on it just a little long. He needs to see these guys open. Meaning, in college, like, these guys are wide open. In the NFL,
wide open.
Yard, an inch is wide open. So I think with the proper time and more reps, Tua could turn into something special, Jenna.
All right, let us take a turn now. Time for Nick's NBA medals. Nick, Kawhi's game-tying 3 attempt to send it to overtime just off the mark. It ruined a 30-point night, so he's going to have to wait for a spot on your podium. Who did make the medal stand, Nick?
Kawhi was pacing to make his first time on the podium if he hits this game winner, win a game without Paul George. Unfortunately, he didn't. You know who could win a game without his fellow superstar? Kyrie Irving. Kyrie gets a bronze medal, 29, 5, and 6, 6 and 5 last night, pardon me. And Kyrie, first quarter, 7 of 7, 18 points. Cooled off after that, but Kyrie gets the bronze. Who gets the silver? Another first-time medalist this year, LeBron Raymond James, 26, 11, and 7, and just a virtuoso final 2 minutes. Hey, who's this fadeaway jump shot remind you of? The 2nd greatest player of all time? Maybe. Hold on, let's do an even harder one to ice the game. Dylan Brooks, you're too small. Right in your eye. And then on the other end of the court, if that's not enough at 36 years old, okay, we'll watch this again. It's so pretty. My goodness. I know MJ had a good fadeaway. I don't think he ever hit one quite that
Finding a way to talk
And now on the
LeBron.
other end of the court, wait, what about some defense? How about some 36-year-old? No, sir. Ooh. No, sir. There's the game. So LeBron gets a silver medalist, and then the winner. Right now, this moment, if we voted today, he might be league MVP. The Joker, 35, 15, and 6, averaging 26, 12, and 12 on the year. The Joker with his fewest assists of the season, but his most points. A magnificent game. He gets the gold medal, Brandon.
But Nick, look, I've only been on the show for a couple of months, but I was a fan of the show. I used to watch. I think you said last year that this guy wasn't a superstar and he was out of shape. Are you changing your tone on this guy?
Yeah, that's true. I once upon a time on the show said I thought he sweated gravy. That's true. I did say that. But what evidently is true is the Joker's amazing. I was underrating him, and he proved it in the postseason. Listen, I can change my opinion with brilliant postseason performances. Yeah, that's what I said. They had to mop it up. It was ugly. The Wilds, what he did in the postseason, what he's doing this year, he's proven himself as a top 10 player in the league. It's true.
Oh, easily top 10. Tenuous grip on that assist title that I'm rooting for. Here comes Ross. Be very careful. 6 assists, not going to get it done. We need more of these 18 assist games from the Joker.
It's unbelievable. Best passing big man since
He's got a
Wolfe.
season to make it happen. Let's take a turn. Let's get back to the NFL now, ramping things up for this weekend. The debut of Nick's NFL Tiers Playoff Edition. That's coming up next. This, my friends, is First Things First.
What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
Back here, First Things First. It is 8 o'clock on a Wednesday, which means it is tier time. Nick's about to debut the wild card edition of his NFL Tiers. Take it away, Nick.
Jenna, next week will be literally tier time because next week's the final installment. This is the penultimate episode of our NFL Tiers, our first playoff edition. Reveal the tiers right now. Committee slaved long and hard over this. Here we go. Starting at the bottom of the tiers, you have drawing dead. Now that's a poker term. That's in. You're all in against somebody. You turn your hands over and you're like, there is not a single card that can come out for me to win. That's the Bears. Nothing can happen for them to beat the Saints. I know my guy Brandon's going to be like, any given Sunday. No, not this Sunday. They're dead. All right, move on. Move on. Terrible timing. The Rams and the Browns. A month ago felt very differently about these teams. And I understand that people are like, Nick, you don't even like tiny hands golf. I don't. But my man, Teen Wolfe himself, I watched that game. He did not impress. The offense scored 9 points. The defense scored 9 points. And I do not think Walford can go on the road and beat Seattle. The Browns, unfortunately, the COVID news to me, it just comes at the worst possible time. The 0%ers. Not 0% to win a playoff game. Any of these teams can, and 2 of them, I think, will, maybe all 3, win a playoff game. But Washington, Indy, and Pittsburgh are 0% to win the championship. They are 0% to win 4 consecutive playoff games. Now the teams that could win the title. Fear Factor. You guys remember the old show Fear Factor? It'd be like, hey, you're going to jump from one semi to the next. And it seemed amazingly dangerous. But then you're like, wait, it's on network television. No one's actually going to die. So it was like a fake fear. That's what the Titans, Bucks, and Bills are. They seem dangerous, but you know deep down they're not. The Titans, it's like, can that secondary get through 4 rounds? No. The Bucks. Can that offensive line and Brady's aversion to getting hit hold up for 4 rounds all on the road? No, they can't. And even the most ardent members of Bills Mafia know in their heart of hearts he ain't winning 4 straight playoff games, he being Josh Allen. So now we get to the championship caliber tier. The Saints, they've been building to this moment. They are the 2 seed. They finally have underrated story, Michael Thomas back and maybe the healthiest he's been since Sean Payton tried to run up the score in week 1. They are dangerous. Seattle, take the offense from the first half of the year, take the defense from the second half of the year, combine it into one team, and you can win the Super Bowl. Baltimore Ravens, they are hot. They are healthier than they've been. Still not fully healthy, but healthier than they've been. And Lamar is playing the best football he's played since his MVP season, and they have a championship coach. The Packers, obviously the #1 contender. Aaron Rodgers playing the best football of his life, which is an amazing statement to make because the best football of his life previously was some of the best football we've ever seen. And the old boring champs stay the champs. A lot of folks, by the way, the champs have a chance to go into the playoffs as the rare nobody believes in us champs with all these folks picking Buffalo, but the champs stay the champs. I'm going to stay because they haven't played in a couple weeks as they're resting folks. Brandon, it is the first playoff edition of the tiers. The committee only had 14 teams to focus on. Therefore, we feel we were able to execute it with even better precision. I can't imagine there's any issue with this whatsoever.
Look, Nick, I'm more impressed with how you retain all this information. It's almost like you're a little genius when it comes to all this sports stuff. So good job there, breaking down all the teams and going back to week 1. Who remembers Mike Thomas going down and what Sean Payton did in that game and how idiotic that was? So that was impressive. But if you throw those, maybe you don't have to throw those tiers up. I look at 2 teams. I still have faith in my preseason prediction that the Pittsburgh Steelers will come out of the AFC, represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. And on the NFC side, it will be the Seattle Seahawks. I still have faith there. And hopefully it can come together for me at the end. But there's 2 teams I want to talk about specifically. The Buffalo Bills, Nick. I honestly believe that you're just disrespecting them because you really fear them the most. You keep talking about the Baltimore Ravens as the team that you fear, but I really believe it's the Buffalo Bills, and you're not trying to speak it to in existence. So what is that bet with Colin? Because you're definitely going to get this ketchup and mustard in your face when you lose this bet. What is that bet again? I just want to remind everybody.
Yep.
Colin, yes.
So if the Bills lose in the first round, Colin gets sprayed in the face, Colin Cowherd, with ketchup and mustard. If they make it to the AFC Championship game or further, it happens to me. If they lose in round 2, it's no action.
Okay.
So that's how it works. And this is absolutely not happening to me.
That's happening to you. That's happening to you. That's absolutely happening to you. And I'll buy a ticket to watch that live. The second team I want to talk about really quickly is the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm not going to bore you guys with a lot of stats. You can get that on any show. Just Google it if you want to read more into it. But the reality is that guy right there, Tom Brady, has been balling since their week 13 bye. Look at the numbers. Oh, my goodness. And Nick, he's also looking really smooth. It looks like this guy is 27 years old. I'm telling you, Nick, this dude is on a mission not only to win another Super Bowl, but to do it in high fashion. This team right here, you need to look out for.
Here's the thing, Brandon. So my case against the Bucks, it's like, and we just had an election last night, it's like when you have a dossier of negative info on a political opponent and you just want to slowly release it piece by piece. So every day this week, I'm going to bring you a different piece of information. Today, I want to bring up something that I guarantee you have not yet thought about, but when I bring it to you, it's going to concern you. Because you were the one that actually alerted me to this problem a few months ago. And that's old man Brady's bedtime. Tommy Brady likes to go to bed around 7:30. The NFL did Tommy Brady no favors. They said, we need you in prime time.
This is a true story.
We need you with the lights on. We need you at night. Tom said, "Oh my God, at night. It's like playing in Europe. I'm gonna be jet lagged. I don't, my whole body clock. This year, Tom Brady during the day, amazing. Tom Brady at night, so sleepy he forgets what down it is, forgets to shake people's hands, forgets how to throw footballs. Brandon, they gave him a night game. Brandon. You're not that far from Tampa. You're going to drive up there and help him start readjusting the sleep schedule. What are you going to do? The night game is a problem.
I got you. You know about TB12. You know Tom Brady. He formulates supplements. He teach people how to eat clean and how to train and do how to be more, more pliability. What does he teach? His whole crazy little new way. Pliable. There you go. But his supplements, he talk about hydration, big on hydration. Well, you know me. I got my own supplement company too. And I got a rest formula for him. Old Tom Brady, I'm sending you my rest supplement. If you take 3 capsules, he's going to take 3 capsules before his bedtime, and he's going to wake up energized and ready to go. I'm telling you.
Okay. All right. Wilds.
What's going on?
Okay.
The Ravens.
Fresh from the Ravens' claw.
Michael.
Good day, Ms. Wolfe. Good day, Ms. Martin. Good day, the gentleman from Kansas City. Fresh from the Ravens' claw. Poor Brian is exhausted. Brian, was your name Ryan? I forgot. I change it every week. He's drinking because he flew all the way from Los Angeles to deliver the latest petition. The latest petition is contained henceforth of why the Rams should move up multiple tiers for the following reasons contained in henceforth. Reason number 1. The NFL's best defense. I know I say that about a lot of defenses. This time I mean it literally. They give up the fewest points, the fewest yards, and the fewest passing yards. Article number 2, Nicholas. Wolford Wolfpack will howl. It's not just for people named Kevin Wildes and Jenna Wolfe, honorary chairwoman.
Yes.
The Wolfman. Do you know how many quarterbacks have ever thrown for 200 yards and run for 50 yards in their NFL debut? I'll wait. 0, just the Wolfman. Number 2, trivia.
He threw
Do you know how many NFL quarterbacks have an active LinkedIn? Just the Wolfman, in case it doesn't work out. He's always got a backup plan. Got a backup plan for his career. Also has a backup plan when the play breaks down against the Seahawks. Article number 3. Pressure. Aaron Donald led the league in pressures. And TJ Watt was number 2. But Nicholas, the gap between Aaron Donald and TJ Watt was the same as TJ Watt and the 17th player. That's how good Aaron Donald is, who I believe you refer to as one of a living legend. So for the following reasons, and a bonus take, the same take you have about Chase Young, getting mad at Tom Brady, that's what's going to happen with Aaron Donald and Russell Wilson, even though Russ is slightly more mobile. But for those following reasons, please move the Rams up multiple tiers. Good day.
Listen, I would love to be able to believe in the Rams. I would love it. I'm with Brandon that we need more players like Jalen Ramsey that are just like, you suck, you're no good, you're trash. I love the way I like that. Aaron Donald trains against knives in the offseason. He is pacing towards being one of the 10 greatest defensive players ever. McVay has never lost a game where he led at halftime. I love all those things about the Rams. But can I close my eyes and even start to imagine John Wolford going to Russell Wilson's house and beating him in the playoffs? I can't. It is incomprehensible to me that John Wolford is going to go on the road against Russell Wilson, an all-time playoff performer. Look it up. He's had one career bad playoff game, and that game, he threw a game-winning touchdown in overtime to get to the Super Bowl. It's the only bad playoff game he's ever had. So the Wolford part, I know you love him because his name is like Jenna's, I suppose, but I just can't believe in it. I just can't. Exactly right. I'd love to. I just can't believe it. And so that's why I can't move the Rams. We can't move the Rams up, Jenna.
All right. Speaking of playoff-bound teams, where does yesterday's devastating news leave Baker and the Browns as they prepare for the Steelers this weekend? We will discuss next. The Ravens' name is Michael. It's Michael. Say it with me. Don't be changing names week to week.
Yeah, it's Michael. You forgot. That's right, Jenna.
It's a different Raven. It's a different Raven from last week.
Hey, First Things First listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
Back here, First Things First. Brooklyn Nets in action last night. Losers of 4 of 5. Coming in and without Kevin Durant, sidelined with COVID issues. Had to just get that out there. So Kyrie Irving raises his hand. He says, "Coach, I got this. I'm good." Scored 29 points as the Nets roll to the big win over the Utah Jazz. With that, we welcome in Chris Broussard. Broussard, you've said before Kyrie is the leader of this team. Did last night prove that he can keep the Nets afloat while KD is out?
Well, Jenna, it certainly proved that he is woefully underrated by someone on this show. And I'm not talking about Kevin Wiles. All right, I knew it was a good night for the Nets when I didn't receive any texts from Nick Wright. He only texts me when things have gone awry in Brooklyn. I can promise you that. So, look,
it's a lot of texts over the last couple weeks.
Kyrie obviously was tremendous. 18 points in the first quarter to set the tone. And yes, he is the leader of this team. I don't say that as a slight to Kevin Durant, who's their best player. It's just different personalities. And it is fair for people like Nick and others. Heck, I've got my concerns about Kyrie's leadership considering his past. But it's also possible that despite his eccentricities, that he has learned from his past mistakes and will be a better leader going forward. We have seen players mature and become better leaders as their careers went on. And last night, it looked like that was the case because it was the Kyrie Irving show, but not because he was going outside of the offense, hogging the basketball, and just doing things one-on-one. He did his brilliance within the flow of the game, and it was truly a team effort. The ball was moving. They had a season-high 31 assists. They shot 56% from the floor. All the players were involved. They were great defensively, held the Jazz to 39% shooting. So to answer your question, yes, Kyrie can certainly keep them afloat without Kevin Durant for this brief time. They've got Philadelphia and Oklahoma City at home and Memphis on the road. 2 of those 3 games are certainly winnable. The question is Philadelphia, and they've got the big bodies in Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan to put on Joel Embiid. Philly 6-1. They're due for a loss. But even if they don't beat Philly, if the Nets can go 3-1 without Durant, that's huge.
Oh, yeah. That's a great win. That would be a win. No doubt about it. And listen, people think I'm going to get on here and find a way to bash the Nets. I'm not going to do that. That was a great win last night. Kyrie was excellent. With the win, they're now in position to be in that play-in tournament. So that's good for them. They're still the 9 seed, but hey, the 9 seed this year gets a chance for the playoffs. So that's important. Now, my concerns about the Nets, beginning of the year, I said they're going to be a terrible defensive team. Broussard, I think after game 2, was like #1 defense in basketball. Well, now they're number 10, dropping like a stone. They'll continue to drop. When we talk next week, they'll be 15th or worse. They are
opponents field goal.
Okay, but points. I'm just worried about how many points the other team's scoring. They're the dead last rebounding team in basketball, but who cares? That's an overrated stat too as well. I don't want to argue about the Nets. I want to argue about something you keep saying, Broussard, which is I need to move Kyrie Irving up. So show the tiers and just show them to where Kyrie is. He's not on the bottom tier. He's just on the bottom tier we're going to show you. Tell me Who are the players? Hold on. Can we make Broussard do this? I don't want to make Brandon do this. Brandon hasn't boxed himself in the way Broussard has. I want Broussard, if we can, please. Broussard, who right now I have 21 players listed ahead of Kyrie Irving. Tell me the names of guys we are moving down. I want them because you can't just say move them up. We got to move people down.
Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell, just to name two. Ben Simmons. I mean, come on.
Ben Simmons.
You want me to keep going? Yeah, Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
Are
please.
you serious? He averaging 13 points a game. And he doesn't take jump shots. I know he's shooting 100% from three. Oh, stop it. Half the league was hurt last year. I vote for those, Nick. Half the league was hurt. I was looking for guards. I was like, my goodness. Who can I throw on? Pascal Siakam. Is Siakam on there? Is he above him? We got to move him down, too, if that's the case. Clay's hurt.
He's not above him.
I can make an argument for Jimmy Butler moving
Zion down. Oh, Jimmy Butler.
100%.
So you just don't care about the playoffs. You just don't care about the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell,
Kyrie
Jamal
Irving
Murray,
has won a championship, Nick. Kyrie Irving has hit either the first or second greatest shot in NBA history. Are you serious? I mean, I just named five guys that he should be ahead of.
I guess I should have Ray Allen
I'll put him ahead of Paul George,
I guess I'm snubbing Ray Allen. Paul George playing great this year. Okay, all right, so that's fine.
All I know is when next time on the show, the tiers should be different. That's all I know.
Okay. All right, we'll see. All right, Brandon, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to know the list. I wanted to know who I needed to move down.
Yeah.
And evidently, Nick, Kyrie's getting credit for a shot he hit in July of 2016. But go ahead.
Nick, it's not looking pretty for you, man. I don't think you have an argument here. And Chris, you said something interesting when you opened up on your take. You said there's somebody on this show that is overlooking Kyrie, right? Could he be the most underrated superstar in the NBA? Like, why do we continue to talk about this guy like he's not a monster? Like, why do we continue to talk about this guy like he's not a champion? Like he didn't hit the game winner to get to win the championship in Cleveland. So let's go back to last night and let's just look at that game. So yeah, 29 points, 18 points first half, all that started off hot. But think about the efficiency, 63%. It wasn't like this dude was just throwing up crazy shots. He was doing it at an efficient level. And then you look at the season, 27 points, averaging 27 points in the career high, 50% from the floor. This dude is an absolute superstar. I agree with Chris Wilds and Nick that he should be moving up past a lot of those guys. Like, this is one of the best guys in the NBA when we talk about a skill set in basketball IQ, and I wonder if he is the most underrated player in the NBA today.
Wow. Well, Dion Waiters is the most underrated player in the NBA. Should have a starting spot somewhere, but you got to make an argument that Kyrie's in there too. Get on Waiters Island. He's got a new chain. See a DW chain. It's fantastic. Broussard, the other big story, Jared Allen. Oh, hey, Durant's out. You know, the cat's away, the mice will play. Why he's not paying attention? Boom. Let's get Jared Allen in the game. Let DeAndre Jordan play 9 minutes. Hey, how did Jared Allen do? I don't know. Catching dunks on a former defensive player of the year, blocking shots. Only 19 points, 18 rebounds. 5 of them were offensive board, which he leads the league in. 3 steals and 2 blocks. DeAndre Jordan started every game for Broussard. He's averaging 4 points, and he's 50 at the rebounds. In Brooklyn right now, there are mob bosses, Broussard, who get treated less well than DeAndre Jordan, who get less deferential treatment than DeAndre Jordan gets. I think last night is a coaching malpractice. If this isn't the starting lineup and Jared Allen is in the starting lineup moving forward, I don't care if DeAndre Jordan, saved people's lives and you owe him his life. DeAndre Jordan should be on the bench, and that's okay. Do you agree?
Wilds, I'm glad you brought this up because last night, starting Jared Allen showed me a few things. One, Steve Nash has the heart and the guts to coach the team the way he wants to. Because last year, all the talk was, KD and Kyrie, they want DeAndre Jordan starting. That's why, Atkinson was fired and all that stuff. So he goes ahead and starts the team that he wants to. So I like that. That shows me going forward, when he has to, he won't be afraid to, pull his weight, okay? Secondly, it shows that Nash understands egos and chemistry because he didn't just bench DeAndre Jordan. He benched the entire starting lineup outside of Kyrie Irving. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot comes off the bench. Who's the other starter? They benched the other starter as well. Joe Harris. Joe Harris. Joe Harris.
They benched Joe Harris.
They started Bruce Brown. Yeah. So they started 3 other guys, and they didn't just make it about DeAndre Jordan. So that saves his ego. It looks like it's more of a team thing and not just about DJ.
Yep, right. Which is why this is a problem. Because you got Jared Allen, who's a good player, DeAndre Jordan, who, with respect, and I'm anxious to say this in my house because my wife loves him so much, who isn't good anymore, and you can't just bench him for the better player because he's part of the big 3. Because DeAndre, Kyrie, and KD, one of these 3 is not like the other, all got together and were like, we're coming together, boys. So you gotta, and the reason Jared Allen got that opportunity was because DJ instantly got in foul trouble because he's not good anymore. The idea that because Nash had to do all these different machinations to put in the obviously better player who should have always been starting, that's not a good thing. But hey, listen, I do think the Nets are at least the second best 4-4 team in basketball. And I do think that if they were to get the Hawks in the play-in, they would I know they just lost to the Hawks. I think they'd probably win that play-in tournament. I do think that.
I wonder if DeAndre knows he's not good anymore. Gets back to the NFL now. Even more fallout from the Eagles' decision Sunday to pull Jalen Hurts. Wait till you hear what a key member of the team had to say about it when we come back. Broussard, thank you.
Yep.
Back here talking Philadelphia Eagles, the fallout continues now from Doug Peterson's 4th quarter quarterback swap Sunday night. We've heard Doug Peterson's reasoning. We've heard Joe Judge's criticism. And if you hop on the Twitter, you'll hear just about every opinion in between. But now we're hearing from the Eagles themselves, questioning the decision publicly. Here's Miles Sanders with his side of the story.
Man, if I'm being honest, nobody liked the decision. Nobody, and that's all I could say, really. But I don't know who was the main person behind that decision. But all I know is a lot of people on the team was confused.
Brian Westbrook is back with us. Brian, you spent 8 seasons in Philadelphia. You're a Philly guy here. What do you make of Miles Sanders saying nobody liked the decision to bench Jalen Hurts?
Well, Jenna, I absolutely agree. As a player, your main goal every single week, just like I laid out yesterday, is to go out there and win. And listen, as a coach, you can do all the different things during the week. You can put 20 players on the bench and not play your starters and all those different things. But once you get into the game, you get into the game to win. That's your only goal, and you do everything you can to win. Miles Sanders was out there in the game. He was trying to win. So I certainly respect his opinion, and I agree with it. As a player, you're trained to win. That's your whole goal. But as fans and probably the management of the Eagles, this is probably a good situation. They bring the 6th pick instead of the 9th pick. That's a big difference as far as the caliber of player that they're going to get. So that may be working out for the fans and maybe for the management. But I kind of want to push this thing forward just a little bit here. It's important to understand this, and this is one of the questions that we're getting in Philadelphia. Has Doug Peterson lost the team? Has he lost the locker room? And to be honest with you, as bad as I think this decision was, and as bad as an indictment it is on the culture and character of this football team, I don't think Doug Peterson will lose the locker room because of this. I think the Eagles, because of the bad season that they've had, they're going to have to shuffle that roster. They're going to have to flip that entire roster. You'll see a lot more younger guys coming into Philadelphia, more free agents and things like that. And because of that, through the OTAs, through the mini camps, Doug Peterson has the opportunity to get that culture back, to get that character back in Philadelphia. And if he does a good job during that springtime, I think he can win back that locker room and have a chance to get the guys to believe back in him by the start of the season.
Well, Brian, this is why this is significant is because next year he may not have lost the locker room this year, and he may still have control now. But next year, if they start off 1-4, 1-5, there's going to be problems. There's going to be guys in that locker room asking for his head. There's going to be those fans, as you know, they're going to be ready to move on because of the year they just had. And this is why this is so big, is because we are trained, all right, not only to perform and catch balls and tackle and throw footballs and things like that, we're also trained to eliminate the distractions. Every single day when you walk in NFL locker room and you walk into the team meeting, what is the coaches talking about? Hey, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Eliminate the distractions. Don't talk to certain people. This is who you can talk to. This is who you shouldn't talk to. Because we know the power of our voice and the power of our platform. So for this kid, for Sanders to go out there and literally say, well, if I'm really being honest, no, that's not the time to be honest, right? When you talk about protecting the locker room, protecting the integrity of your team. So this is a big deal because these guys are upset, rightfully so. But when you talk about moving forward, you can't continue to have this conversation. You got to have that conversation in the locker room with that coach and with those players.
That's interesting. And so I've defended the Eagles and Doug Peterson throughout the week. This is the first moment where I feel like, okay, we might have a real problem. Because an NFL head coach has a lot of responsibilities. You got a game plan. You got to figure out the analytics stuff. You might have something to say about draft and free agency. You got to manage egos, all these things. But one of your main responsibilities is clear communication to your team. I'm going to bring up a previous NFL head coach, now he's at Arizona State, Herm Edwards. So Herm Edwards coached my Chiefs, he coached the Jets, and folks always killed him for the game management stuff. Yet, he was a sought-after head coach and a highly, highly respected NFL man. Why? Because he was such a great communicator. You knew where he stood, his players understood it, and they rallied behind him. We now have ample evidence, Wilds. Doug Peterson is terrible at this part of the job. He's terrible at it at the podium. He's terrible with it with the media. And he appears to be bad at it with his own players. Because guess what Miles Sanders should be saying? To be totally honest, we all knew this was coming. To be totally honest, Doug laid it all out to us before the week, so we understood there'd be no surprises. That is a failure on his behalf, Wilds, to not communicate it to his players properly to where they're not shaking their heads on the sidelines all upset. Because that's, to me, his biggest mistake here.
Yeah, but you know why that wasn't communicated properly? Because I don't think it would ever happen. You can't go in front of a group of guys and be like, look, when the game's on the line and we have a chance to win, I'm going to pull Jalen out and get Nick Sudfeld some reps. You'd be like, what? So there's a point where I think if he did that, he would have had all the players be like, hey, coach, real quick, that doesn't work. And if we're going to do that, I'll stay home. I just got a PlayStation 5 and I'll do that. Because put me on the fake IR with Carson Wentz. I'll do that. The idea that he didn't communicate it well enough is valid, but it was such a bad idea. This wouldn't have ever come to fruition if he did.
All right, Brian, stick around with us. The committee has some new playoff tiers we need to discuss. Go wake up little Brian. We want his input as well. It's next. It's First Things First.
Little Brian should be up. It's 9.
Saturday on Fox, MVP candidate Russell Wilson leads the Seahawks against Aaron Donald and the Rams, all part of Super Wild Card Weekend. Saturday, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on Fox and the Fox Sports app. I'm all in on John Wolford for my buddy Kevin Wilds. To the big news out of Cleveland now, Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski has tested positive for COVID-19. The positive test means Stefanski will, in fact, miss Sunday's wild card game in Pittsburgh. It also means he'll be handing over play calling duties to offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt. Stefanski was one of 5 positive tests within the organization. Browns also be without Pro Bowl guard Joel Bitonio. So Browns have their work cut out for them. Brandon, as a player, tell me, how much harder will it now be for Baker and the Browns to pull off the upset without their head coach?
Yeah, this is interesting, Jenna. When the news broke, I was torn here because I started thinking about my career. I started thinking about other teams, obviously in today's game. And, like, some teams may be better without their head coach. And then I start thinking about what are those intangibles that the head coach brings to the table, right? We talk about leadership. I don't think the Cleveland Browns miss anything from a leadership standpoint. Now, if it's the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Seattle Seahawks, that's a big deal because Mike Tomlin and Pete Carroll, that's where they really thrive. They galvanize those guys in the locker room and they push everybody forward in the same direction. The second thing is game management. All right, now everyone in the NFL is trending towards having a guy on staff, a guru that is in your ear telling you about the clock. They're going through situational football with you. So I think Prefer, that's the interim right now, will do a phenomenal job there. And I'm not sure if they have that guru that's sitting in the box. So I don't think they miss anything there. Play calling is where it's a big deal. Play calling, because there's some head coaches that also still calls plays. You think about McVay out in L.A. with the Rams. If he's not there, there's a problem. And it's the same thing here in Cleveland. That's Baker Mayfield's guy. That is a guy who is thriving right now, potentially head coach of the year. So you pull him out, now you got to worry about, does the next guy, Van Pelt, have that ability to dial it up? There's a lot of guys that can draw it up, get in X's and O's, this play look good versus this coverage, but being in that moment and being able to say, this is the play right now, and it hits. So that's where you're going to miss, and you're going to miss big time. And the last thing is experience. I don't think this is a huge deal for them, but they are going to miss something because he has experience of sitting on the sideline and seeing Coach Zimmer lead the team going into the game, during the game, after the game. So they'll miss a little bit there, Nick. So I'm kind of torn here. But you might be able to help me.
Well, no, listen, I think the experience factor, this is where it hurts the Browns. It hurts them next year. Because if they don't beat the Steelers, then they're going to go next year into a season where their head coach has never coached a playoff game. Even if they lose this year, at least he gets that playoff experience. That's now robbed from him. So there's no way to spin this as a positive. Like, they lost Olivier Vernon, one of their best defensive players in Week 17, to a ruptured Achilles. Joel Bitonio, one of their best offensive linemen, is now out, and their head coach is out. And they're playing a Steelers team, Wilds, that is rested with a top 3 coach in football, arguably, and a quarterback that's played in 20-some playoff games. So here is the only silver lining. I now can argue that Baker Mayfield, who has played under immense scrutiny and pressure his entire career, is under the least pressure of any quarterback in the AFC playoffs. Lamar's under the most. He's got to deliver. Josh Allen, if he goes one and done in the postseason, buddy, Nick Wright's going to be doing some crowing, as will some other people, and it's going to feel like a massive failure. Phillip Rivers, it could be his last game of his career. Big Ben could be the last. I don't think it will be, but it could be the last game of his career. Patrick Mahomes has the pressure of, Patty, are you rested on your laurels? And Ryan Tannehill has the pressure of, hey, man, try not to screw it up because you've got Earl Campbell 2.0 in your backfield, and you're at home. Try to go ahead and win that game. Wilds, Baker can just be like, I'm on the road. This team has not won a road playoff game since Nixon's first year as president, so it's not like there's expectations. We're underdogs. My coach isn't here. We're lost guys to injury.
He actually plays well
it's house
under
money.
pressure.
It's 50 years. It's house. Okay,
I don't
fine.
know, Jenna.
Sure, Jenna. But the point is that that's the only way to make this a positive. Is that if there is like a way to play a pressure-free Wilds playoff game, this would be it for Baker Mayfield.
I buy that. All right, I'm going to throw it back to you in a second. Listen to this theory. Last time we saw coaches out, It was the Detroit lost a bunch of coaches. Tom Brady went in there, threw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half. So that's the only parallel that we have for missing coaches, so it can get bad. Here's the weird take. Some of the best leadership, maybe the single best leadership I've ever seen. I went to dinner with a guy from the NBA. And you know how you're at dinner, it's a nice dinner, and you're like, should I get this appetizer? Should I get this appetizer? Everyone's like, I don't know, are you getting the cream spinach? Are you getting this? And it's just like this big mess. And the guy says, hey, get them. Get any appetizer you want. You're debating? Get them both. I was like, wow, what leadership? That's the game plan, Nick. I think like, should we go for it on 4th and 2? Should we do this? Should we go for it? Be super aggressive. The idea that you're going to win a game, 18-21, just go for it. Treat it like the Ravens game where Baker threw the ball 50 times and Nick Chubb ran the ball a bunch. Take that decision-making out of it. Just go into the game and let Stefanski do it right now via Zoom. But hey, guys, if it's close and we lose the game, let's lose punching. Let's not be playing defense and hope we get a 12-round decision. Let's just go for it. I call it the get all the appetizers theory. Go ahead, Brandon.
But there's so much on the line for Baker, though. Think about this. Yes, this is the perfect scenario for him, but it can also just blow up in his face because this is a guy who has the makeup of, I can lead the team now. And with that amount of pressure and that type of mentality, he can go out there potentially throw 3 picks, 4 picks. And now we're talking about, is this the guy that we want to lead our team next year? But he can go out there, Nick, and lead his team to victory. And now we're like, oh my goodness, Baker Mayfield is the guy. I think it's a black and white situation here. It could be really good for Baker, really bad.
I don't think Baker can play conservative and they win. I do think he has to go for it. Jenna, also what I learned from Wildes is Wildes considers being rich good leadership. Order whatever you want. Company's paying. That's not leadership.